don't think the world had ever seen such a man's man. Baby, you might want to put your woman on lock even watching this video. Tom Jones will come in and definitely snatch her up. This is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another old Hollywood scandals video. Before we get started, I have to say, make sure you go ahead and grab your merch from ashleysaysso.net. Go grab you a tote, a mug, a shirt, because everything is on there. And if you don't want to buy any merch and you still want to support, you can definitely do so by clicking on my Amazon wish list in the description. Now let's go ahead and get to this disclaimer so we can get to the scandal.
The whole video is hearsay, rumor, and gossip that I find on TV, online, magazine, books, and I ball it all up and I tell you guys a story. It's all for entertainment purposes only. Now let's get to it.
Thomas John Woodward was born on June 7th, 1940 in Treforest, Wales. His mother's name was Frida Jones and his father's name was Thomas Woodward. And on top of Tom, I do believe Frida and Thomas had a daughter. Now, growing up, it is rumored that Tom's father, Thomas, ruled his house with an iron fist. Now, this does not mean that Thomas was a mean man, but his word was law. He definitely felt like a woman should obey him. And if you keep this thought in mind during the rest of this video, it will definitely explain to you why Thomas Woodward, aka Tom Jones, and I'm gonna start calling him that from now on, so it will definitely explain to you why Tom Jones kind of did some of the things he did when he was an adult. But to speak more on his childhood, Tom Jones spent most of his days flunking out of school and also busting other neighborhood boys upside the head. Outside of these things, though, life was mostly fun and games for young Tom until one day life almost disappeared completely. When Tom was only 12 years old, he was diagnosed with tuberculosis. And his tuberculosis was so severe that doctors ordered for him to be quarantined to his bedroom, and they put him on basically a 24-hour bed rest. There were only two things at this time that made Tom smile and brought him joy. The first thing was a radio, and Tom would turn on that radio and turn to the only radio station that played black music, and he would jam out. And he wanted more than anything to sing like them. The second thing that made Tom smile was Melinda Trenchard, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, most prettiest and most beautiful girl in town. Tom would gaze lovingly at Melinda, and a few times he even punched his window because he saw other guys walking Melinda home. He basically could not wait until he could get out of quarantine so he could be the one to walk her home. But unfortunately for Tom, that day wouldn't come for 2 years. So at the age of 14, Tom was finally given a clean bill of health, and the first place he was headed to was to go introduce himself to Melinda Trenchard. Fortunately for Tom, Melinda told him that people called her Linda, and she was just as interested in him as he was in her. And instantly, they became inseparable. Walked to school, walked home, planned trips to the store together, having the time of their lives. And then the time of their lives led to the beginning of another life. Yes, Tom had got Linda pregnant. And baby, per the gossip, Linda was only 14 years old and Tom was 15. Child, the folks say that they parents like to have a heart attack. Somebody suggested that Linda go away and go have her baby and put it up for adoption. Somebody else suggested that Linda go away, and while she was gone, one of her aunts would act like she was pregnant, and then when Linda had the baby, you know, she would come back, bring the baby, but the aunt would portray that the baby was her. But in the midst of all their chitting and chatting, Tom stands up and says, "We're not doing any of that." And when his father was like, son, what do you mean? Tom was like, "We're not doing any of that because Melinda Trenchard is going to be my wife." And so when Linda was 8 months pregnant, she and Tom Jones got married. Linda by this time was 15. Tom Jones by this time was 16. Tom was a man's man with that traditional thinking that was passed on from his dad. So he felt like a man should be the provider and a woman should sit at home. So immediately, Tom Jones went and found jobs in factory. However, he wasn't happy at all, and he found out that his true passion is that he wanted to sing. And although he and Linda were barely making it, especially now that she had given birth to their son Mark, she still encouraged her husband to go after his dream. So Tom joined a group called the Senators as their lead singer because they were absolutely floored to hear how powerful this guy sounded. But unfortunately for Tom, him and his senators would have done better by getting jobs as real senators because wasn't nobody checking for their music. And after a while, Tom decided to give up singing. You know, he needed to take care of his wife and child. But it was his wife, Linda, that stopped him and told him, no, sir, you are going to go sing. And when Tom was like, "But we need money," Linda told him, I'll go to work. Linda kept pressing and pressing, and eventually he said okay. But Tom was so depressed and so distraught about this decision that after he left talking to Linda, he went and stood on the side of the bridge. He was about to jump because he felt less than a man. A man should rule his household. A man should bring home the bacon, period. Well, thankfully, Tom talked himself off of the side of the bridge and he decided to give his singing career one more shot. And thank goodness he did, because that one shot was a song called It's Not Unusual. When the world heard this black man singing with all of this power, but singing a song that was so different from the rest of the black songs, they were flabbergasted and they instantly fell in love. Tom Jones was the new black artist and he was on fire. Talk of the town, honey, especially in America. But sooner or later, they were going to find out that Tom Jones was nowhere near black. And that realization would set tongues wagging for years, wondering how this Welsh white man had all this black swag. And baby, he had swag for days. And all that swag led to enough tea and scandal to fill up a doggone ocean. And we about to dig into a whole lot of it right here, because baby, Tom Jones know he was a scandalous thing, child. Come on, honey, let's get to it. Now, in order to get to all this tea and smooth the story out for you, I gotta give y'all a backdrop real quick. So check me out. It's Not Unusual blows up and Tom Jones is the man. But when he steps out in front of the TV screen, everything pauses, especially in America, because Tom Jones is white and he's Welsh. So the black audiences that were high-fiving and yeah, now don't know what to make of this man. But since Tom is a white Welsh man, his team didn't really worry about that much because blacks were not really their target audience anyway. Their target audience were white teen females. They were the ones who bought most of the records and came to the show. But here's the thing. White teen females liked Tom well enough, but his team certainly wasn't blind to the fact that the most popular and most successful white male European singers of the time were very skinny, boyish, and almost feminine-looking young men, like the Beatles. Not only the Beatles, then you have the Rolling Stones or the Kinks, etc. and etc. Look at these boys and look at Tom. He did not look like these guys at all. Tom was very burly. You know, he looked tough. He even looked a little rough. I mean, for goodness sakes, he was a married man with a baby. So Tom's team became a bit frightened that when It's Not Unusual's popularity died down, how were they going to maintain Tom's fame? How were they going to maintain this interest from these young teen white girls? Well, somebody came up with a plan to just change Tom's whole target audience. Who would like a big burly man with a strong voice? A man with a chest full of dark hair, long, strong legs? Women would like that. Real women, adult women. Basically, women 25 and up. So since they had this new idea in mind, Tom's team tried something. His ties became looser as he sang. Shirts opened up a little bit more at the top. His pants started to get much tighter. And they told Tom to use all of his God-given masculinity and testosterone. And they pushed him on stage to see what would happen. And he started to sing his song, but this time as he sang, he put some thrust in his hips. You know, he looked at the ladies in each and every one of their eyes and sang to them. And the women went wild, yelling and hollering and jumping up and down and holding their faces and Tom, give it to me, give it to me. Tom gets excited by this reaction. So now every time he performs, he's doing all of this and he's singing harder and deeper and dancing. And since he's doing so much now while he's performing, he starts sweating profusely all the time. So the ladies in the crowd start taking handkerchiefs out of their purses, or they're yanking the handkerchiefs off the table in front of them and they're throwing them up to Tom to continue wiping himself off. Well, he uses all of them up, you know, so there's no more hankies around. What are people gonna do? Well, baby, I tell you what one woman did. She starts to shake and gyrate her whole body. And while she's gyrating, she leans down and she lifts up her skirt and then starts pulling her panties down. She steps out of her panties while she's still shaking and wiggling and takes those things and throws them right up on stage with Tom. Tom Jones does not miss a beat. He cocks those lips into a magnificent smile, walks up to where the panties landed, picks them up and wipes down his whole face with them. And after wiping and getting all the essence from them, he turns to the woman in the most flirtatious way and tells her, "Careful now, don't catch a cold." Oh, that just ends it. Oh, baby, it's over with. Tom Jones is the man, baby. Women just fall out, honey. They are beside themselves, wrapped up in this man's rock-hard manliness. And it was this moment right here, this panty wiping and this careful now don't catch a cold moment, that sealed Tom Jones's fate as the sexiest man alive. His image was so sexy and so manly that people started choosing him specifically to sing certain songs. Tom Jones hated these songs. "What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa." He hated it. He said it sounded like a nursery rhyme. And maybe the lyrics were a little bit nursery rhymey, but not when he sang it. Especially when he sang that part, "Pussycat, pussycat, you're delicious, and soon I'll be kissing your sweet little pussycat lip." What? What? Yes, it was simple wordplay. But when Tom Jones sang it, it sounded way more than that. It sounded like some crunching and munching finna go on. And so people couldn't believe that he was singing this, especially the women in the audience. But it turned them on, and so they went crazy. As a matter of fact, go watch the video to see how the women responded. If I can find that video, it will be pinned into the top comment. So the point that I've basically tried to make is that now Tom Jones is it. His team has realized that they have an ace in the hole with this new manly persona. Tom continues to gyrate and swivel his hips on stage. He continues to pick up undies and wipe his brow with them. But there is one thing that Tom is also doing that his team feels like is very unsexy. And that was Tom Jones doing interviews with his wife. And so they decided that Tom needed to stifle interviews showing his wife and his family. You know, the media would probably still catch her out here and there and snap pictures of her, but as far as her talking to them, giving them quotes, like she basically shut all of that down. And allegedly, Linda was not happy with this. But you know, she did it. She agreed to be kind of in the background for the sake of her husband's career. And so Linda essentially disappeared completely, leaving the world to view Tom Jones as a single man. And this is where things get messier than a teenager's bedroom, honey, because Tom Jones took full advantage of this bachelor-like identity. The man started sleeping with everybody. One of the groupies, who went by the name of Diana, I think it was, baby, she said that Tom Jones took her virgin the first time she slept with him. Can't say the real word, y'all know what it is. But he took her virgin. Baby said the second time she went to meet up with him, this dude had the nerve to say, "Okay, so your first time is out of the way. So since tonight is your second time, I think you need to open up a bit more. So I've invited this other girl here, and I want you and her to kind of get together and perform for me." And so the groupie is like, you know, "Well, Tom, I really wanted to see you tonight, but I'm not comfortable with doing all that." Baby said Tom was like, "Okay, good day to you. Larry, hey Larry, go and bring the other one in." And another girl was brought into the room, and this was not the other girl that he was wanting this groupie to mess with. Tom had them lined up like replaceable. Another story alleges, and this one is sure enough messy, baby. Tom Jones slept with one woman, and baby, she came back with her daughter, whom they say was of age, and told Tom's entourage, or the people around him at the time, "This is my daughter, and Tom was such a great experience for me. I would be honored if he would be her first." Let's move on quickly before the folks try to shut me down over this mess. But before we move on, let me say that allegedly this lady was not the only one who was doing things like that. Gossip claims that Tom Jones's camp was getting letters from mothers saying that their daughters had just become old enough and that they wanted their daughters to experience the first stuff with Tom Jones. And allegedly his team was disgusted by this behavior, and I don't think Tom ever participated in any of that, by the way. But these people offered it. Yet another groupie told a story of how she and Tom messed around, and after he finished with her, he got up out of the bed really quick and he went into the bathroom. And so she starts to smell mouthwash and she's thinking he's brushing his teeth. Well, baby, she gets up to go walk in the bathroom. Tom Jones is allegedly dipping his member in the mouthwash. And so she is like, what are you doing? Well, I mean, if they kill the germs in your mouth, surely they'll kill the germs on your member. And there are tons of groupie stories, so I cannot go through them all. And when it came to his wife Linda, yes, she would hear hush hush rumors that her husband was doing these things, and yes, she would cry and be very hurt. But allegedly, when Tom came home from touring and she asked him about it, he told her, "Listen, I don't ask what you do here at home while I'm away, so I don't think you should ask what I do while I'm away from home." And it's also alleged that Linda asked him to stop or told him to stop, and that allegedly Tom responded, "Linda, I'm just a man. I'm a man doing what men do. But you don't have to worry, darling. You're going to always be my number one, and I'm never, ever, ever going to leave you for another woman." And maybe some women would have looked at Tom and cursed his behind out, but Linda did not do that. She loved her husband, and she told him, "I tell you what, I'll never ask what you do on your tour again, but don't you ever leave me, and more than that, don't you ever make a fool out of me. You can go sleep with all the women that you want, but don't ever let the media get a hold to it. Please, Tom, do not let it make the papers." The folks say Tom told her that they had a deal and he promised her he would never humiliate her. And so Tom went on about his way, continuing his affairs but hiding them very well. And while he did that, allegedly Linda worked on herself so she could become oblivious to her husband's affairs. She stopped going to his shows very early on because she didn't like to see the women grabbing and screaming over her husband because it put images in her head that he was cheating on her. Out of sight, out of mind worked great for both of them until Tom Jones laid eyes on the Supreme singer Mary Wilson. And this story may not match exactly to the Mary Wilson video story because there's been like 3 years since then and I may have found updated information. So anyway, the version according to Tom's side is that he was in the USA and he was on tour. Gossip claims that he saw Mary. He told a mutual acquaintance that he wanted to meet her. When they do meet, allegedly, Mary asks Tom, "Are you sure it was me you were wanting to see, or did you want to see Diana? You know, she's the lead singer." And Tom supposedly told her, "No, I don't want to meet Diana. She may be the lead singer, but everybody knows that you're the sexy one." Mary is flattered, so allegedly they spend the rest of that night talking, kissing, and just chilling. Fireworks popped and sparks flew because both Mary and Tom decided that that kissing and chilling wasn't enough. And so the next time they saw each other, baby, they got it on. And then, weirdly enough, they became a couple. And when I say couple, I mean it. Allegedly, from this point on, whenever Tom came to the US to tour, he would rent out an apartment and Mary would move in this apartment with him. The folks say she becomes almost like a road wife to him. You know, she makes sure he comes home to a home-cooked meal every night. She is folding and washing his clothes. And if Tom toured overseas, wherever he was staying, Mary would go over there and stay with him. The relationship with Tom Jones and Mary Wilson allegedly became so intense and so commonplace that they would just go out in public willy-nilly. Tom Jones even took Mary out for a date at Mr. Chow in London, over very close to where his wife lived. And if that don't get you burning up under the collar, gossip claims that Tom and Mary were such a couple that sometimes people threw parties for them. Like they were the honored guests, and they would walk in hand, smooching, you know, cameras flashing everywhere, taking pictures of Mary looking up very lovingly at her man. But that was the problem. Tom Jones was not Mary's man. He was very much married, and he was Linda's man. And those flashing cameras that caught them out to eat and at all of these parties and stuff were not just cameras that belonged to friends. A lot of these cameras belonged to media sources. So Tom Jones and Mary Wilson became top news, especially overseas in the UK. While Tom was cheesing it up one day, his wife Linda was at home opening a newspaper to where she saw a headline that said something like, you know, Playboy Tom Jones with homewrecker Mary Wilson. And Linda was absolutely devastated. This is what she told Tom that she didn't want. She didn't want him to make a fool out of her. So, you know, she is heartbroken, and on top of that, she is livid. Gossip claims on the first day that she caught wind of Tom and Mary's affair, she picked up the phone to call Tom, who was back in the US at his apartment. Sure, the folks say that Mary picked up the phone. And so Linda is like, "Who is this? Is this Mary Wilson? Where's my husband, Tom?" Gossip claims Mary just kind of hands the phone to Tom and is like, "You know, it's for you." Tom says hello. Linda is screaming to the top of her lungs, "Get that B Out of there! Get that bee out of there! And the story says that Tom did as he was told and he put Mary out that day. Not only that, the folks say that he started apologizing to Linda, that the affair was over. But Linda was not stupid. So even after this phone call, she kept her eyes peeled on every newspaper, every magazine, just looking for evidence that Tom and Mary were together. Well, allegedly, 2 months after that initial phone call blow up, Tom Jones ended up having to tour in a town called Bournemouth. And so Linda knows this. She's checking the papers and she sees that Tom boards his plane alone. He's walking just with all of his friends. Mary is nowhere in sight. But I guess she felt in her spirit that something just wasn't right. So she kept scanning the papers, and gossip claims around 2 days later, after Tom came to Bournemouth, Linda ended up seeing a little small article right at the bottom of the newspaper. And it said something to the effect of Mary Wilson of the Supremes seen boarding a plane yesterday headed to Bournemouth. Oh, baby, this was the chance Linda had been waiting on. Oh, honey, they tried to play Linda. Baby, the folks say Linda got to packing up all her clothes and her luggage and she boarded a plane headed to Bournemouth. Same time Linda is heading over there, Tom and Mary are in the hotel room, hugged up, watching TV, laughing. In fact, the story says that they are just chilling and waiting for this oven roast that Mary is cooking to get done. Well, Tom's manager gets a call from his wife, Linda, and she basically just asks him, what hotel is Tom in? I want to send him something. And so the manager tells Linda, just send it to me and I'll make sure Tom gets it because, he's just so busy. He's in and out. Linda responds, don't worry about it. You don't have to tell me. I'll find it myself. Honey, Tom's manager got off the phone quick and with the speed of lightning, dialed Tom's hotel room up. The manager is like, get Mary Wilson out of there. Get her out of there. And like I said in my Mary Wilson video, Tom is like, oh, hold on, slow down. What you mean? I'm sitting up here chilling with my brown sugar. What's the problem? Child, the manager was like, boy, is you foolish? White sugar on her way. You better get that black brown sugar girl out of there. Tom was moving, baby. He jumped up out of that couch telling Mary, you gotta go. My wife is coming. He starts packing all of Mary's stuff up. He's like, get your stuff, get your clothes. You gotta get out of here. And soon he does get Mary out of the door. Tom proceeds to try to calm himself, make sure everything is nice and neat around the room. And about 10 to 15 minutes later, there is a bang on the door. Tom Woodward, you open up this door right now. Open up. I know she in there. I know you have that whore in there. Tom opens the door. Linda bursts in and she's marching back and forth and she's just looking, where's she at? Where is she? I know that Mary whore has been here. Where is she? And Tom is just kind of standing there like, Linda, what are you talking about? Mary's not here. There's nobody here, Linda. I told you I don't see her no more. Whole time Linda is still looking. She's like, shut up, because I know she been here. I know it. So, she's going to closets. She's looking up under the bed. Soon she has turned the place upside down. But Linda still was not satisfied. So she kind of standing there and she's frowned up and she's thinking. And then she starts to kind of sniff the air. Start smelling the aroma in the air. And Linda started walking over to that oven and Tom Jones started sweating bullets, baby. And the man just about died when his wife opened up that oven door and saw that oven roast sitting in there cooking. And Linda's like, what's this, Tom? What's this? You said she wasn't here, but who cooked this doggone roast? And this is where Tom Jones's dominant manly ways that he had got from his father really comes back to bite him. Because see, part of that teaching he got from his father is that not only was a woman supposed to not work and stay at home, a woman was the only one that was supposed to cook. So his wife Linda knew this. She knew Tom wasn't making no roast, so it had to be a woman because he thought women were the cook. Well, even though Linda knew this, and Tom knew this, and Tom knew Linda knew this man still took his chances and had the nerve to say, well, Linda, Gordon, my manager, he been taking cooking lessons and he wanted to test out his cooking. Now, Tom, honey, the folks say that Linda lit his behind up, baby. Said that woman turned Tom Jones every which way but loose off up in there. Pow, 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 giving it to him. The folks say that Tom Jones had to actually put her in a bear hug, just to calm her down. But allegedly she did not calm down at all. In fact, what she did was just break down into a flood of tears. And I'm sure telling Tom, this is too much. It's too much to bear. And you told me that you wouldn't make a fool out of me. Look at what you're doing. I don't know what the woman said exactly, but gossip claims that Tom Jones and his wife did indeed make up that night. You know, they made passionate love, and the next day they were in his limousine together. Well, allegedly, while they were in the limousine, Linda started to cry again, and she started to tell Tom, you know, I just wish, you know, you could give it all up. I just wish you could just come home with me. And Tom, who must have been annoyed that his magical pee-pee thing didn't just shut Linda up completely, allegedly responds by saying, well, Linda, you're saying you want me to give it up, but honey, it can't be that bad. I mean, look at all the diamonds and jewelry and stuff I bought you. Linda arm got to rolling down that doggone window like she was lifting dumbbells. And she started snatching everything off, baby. I'm talking about the rings, the earrings, the necklaces, throwing clothes out, throwing everything out of the window. Says she was hollering, you think this means something to me? You think I care about this? The money, all of this stuff? This don't mean nothing to me. Said the woman threw about $200,000 worth of stuff outside the car window, and then ended it by saying, now you listen to me. I don't care about none of this. And if you embarrass me like that again, I'm gonna cut your balls off. And the folks say Tom didn't continue to humiliate Linda, but allegedly he did continue to see Mary Wilson until Mary allegedly started saying small things like, you know, oh, I just wish we could get married. You know, how are things really with your wife? Are you sure you love her, Tom? Oh, baby, that was a no-no. The folks say that Mary ended up throwing a party and she invited Tom to attend, said that Tom did attend, but only to tell Mary that we can't see each other anymore. You know, he told her that obviously you're going to want something that I can't give you. So, you know, we just need to end the whole thing right now. And maybe they did end all of the physical messing around, but gossip claims, and really I almost know for a fact, that Tom Jones and Mary Wilson continued to talk to each other and visit each other all the way up until she passed away. As a matter of fact, she did an interview a couple of years before she passed away and was in front of a whole audience and the host and everything, and her phone started ringing. And Mary had the nerve to say, oh, this is Tom calling me right now. Let's go ahead and wrap this up so I can call him back, or something to that effect. And this whole episode that he had with Mary Wilson really confirmed to the world that Tom Jones was it. Women just gravitated to him. He had this charisma about him where he just kind of walked into a party just very sure of himself and kind of just wink at a woman, and she's leaving her man for him. People's boyfriends are shaking in their boots, and at first it was just the white boyfriends, but child, the black man was sitting up there worried about it too, now that they had seen Mary Wilson. And they were right to be worried, because rumor has it Dionne Warwick was almost laid down to the ground. But allegedly, she gave Tom Jones the cold shoulder and told him she wasn't interested in that. But the folks on the streets tried to say that Nancy Wilson was laid all open for it. And allegedly, this tryst happened when she performed on the Tom Jones show, because Tom Jones had ended up getting his own TV show. And Nancy Wilson was a guest. So rumors started flying that, you know, they'd done some things. However, Nancy Wilson denied this. But even if Tom didn't have Nancy, allegedly he had multiple other women, because gossip claims that Tom Jones used to basically live on set in this trailer on wheels. You know, it really looked like an apartment on wheels. And this is where he supposedly brought his women, whether they were famous women or regular groupie women. One woman's name was said to be Joyce Engel. And the reason I say Joyce Engel in particular is because she just wasn't no one time and then get out of my trailer. She stayed there for maybe about a month. But the folks say that during Joyce's stay, she came to believe that Tom loved her or really wanted something to do with her, and that she had more power than she truly had. Gossip claims that she started saying who could come in and outside of the trailer, allegedly telling Tom that he didn't need to stay out late at night and he needs to come back home to her. Some folks say she even started arguing with his manager, a man by the name of Gordon Mills, basically saying, you know, you trying to dress Tom up this way, I don't think he should wear those clothes anymore. He needs to start wearing these type of clothes. Really doing too much. Girl, you ain't this man's wife. And the folks say that's what Tom felt like too. So again, like I said, after about a month, the folks say that he kind of just sent her home packing. And that's the crazy thing about this situation. Allegedly, Tom would see so many women, but as soon as a woman said something to replace his wife or felt like she was his wife, he would send them packing. There was one woman who said she was in the room with Tom and two other groupies were in that room. And allegedly, one of the other groupies said something slick about Linda. Like, I think said something about her looks and she wasn't that pretty or something like that. Baby, the folks hustled that girl on up out of there before she got swung on. And I don't know if Tom really was trying to hit that girl, but allegedly he did get very angry. You know, he didn't want people to say anything about his wife. And it seems like what Tom couldn't get is that the reason that these women felt comfortable saying this about your wife was because of the way that you're treating your wife. And the much more sad part about it is that allegedly that groupie was not lying about Linda's looks at this point. The folks say that Tom Jones's affair with Mary Wilson being splashed all over the media like that really humiliated Linda. They said that she grew super depressed and she stopped coming outside altogether. You remember when I said that she didn't never talk to the media anymore, but sometimes they would snap pictures of her, maybe going to the grocery store or something like that. Linda stopped all of that. She would not come out of the house. She was a hermit. And allegedly, because her self-esteem had become so low, you know, she did start picking up weight and all of this kind of stuff. And gossip claims that some of Linda's friends said later on that, you know, Linda kind of started to compare herself to Mary Wilson. And she could not compare. And this is not to say that Linda was not a beautiful woman. I'm not saying that. She couldn't compare to Mary Wilson because Mary Wilson was a celebrity. She was a superstar, a supreme. She had the best hairstylist. You know, she wore designer clothes. She was always neat, always put together, very slim. Mary Wilson in particular, out of all of the Supremes, was always said to be the prettiest. This lady just never really put a foot out of place. And so if Linda really was trying to compare herself to that, of course, Linda's self-esteem definitely would be shot. But no matter what, Linda would not leave her man. She would just eat the hurt. Even when gossip started running around saying that Tom Jones bumped boosters with Leslie Uggams. And allegedly said Leslie was boring in bed, honey. But per Leslie, it never happened. But regardless of whether it happened or not, the rumor definitely did get back to Linda, but she ate the hurt. She ate it. She took comfort that even though she was hearing all of these rumors, that at least Tom wasn't parading Leslie out in front of the newspapers and magazines or any of the other women he was messing with. She took comfort in that. But her comfort was premature because pretty soon Tom Jones ended up meeting the second woman that he wouldn't mind parading in front of the world. And allegedly, this was Miss World, Marjorie Wallace. And Marjorie Wallace was the 20 or 21-year-old 1973 Miss World title holder. And the folks say that she met Tom Jones at a party. Their affair was said to start immediately. And this affair was messy because not only was Tom Jones still married, Marjorie was also engaged to racing car driver Peter Refson. It didn't matter though, and it wasn't long before Tom did not mind showing his affection for Marjorie in public. At one point, they both were cast to appear in some kind of TV episode or something like that. But during this episode, it called for Tom and Marjorie to just have a quick peck on the lips. Does this look like a quick peck on the lips? Because the folks say it wasn't. In fact, some witnesses say that Tom Jones was all down Marjorie's throat. Very passionate, honey. And after this kiss, and also seeing Tom and Marjorie together a few more places, once again, Tom Jones had an affair that was splashed in the media. And Linda was once again marked as the wronged wife. Allegedly, Linda cried and she cursed Tom out and she told him to leave Marjorie alone. But this time, the folks say that Tom didn't even attempt to leave Marjorie alone. Child, they say that he continued to be all out in the public with her. Their affair was so blatant that Marjorie started to be looked at like a real homewrecker. And unfortunately, this did not vibe well with the all-American good girl from Miss World, the title holder. So the organizers of Miss World actually snatched Marjorie's crown back. And rumor has it, when it got this deep and this messy, this is when Marjorie's fiance, Peter Refson, allegedly gave her an ultimatum and said it's either me or Tom Jones. And rumor has it Marjorie chose her fiance, Peter Refson. Well, this is supposedly when Tom went back to Linda and was like, Linda, you know, the affair is over. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm sorry again. Linda once again forgives Tom. Everything is good, except 2 weeks later, Peter Refson, Marjorie's fiance, ends up dying in a car crash. And so she and Tom continued their affair. Now this time, Tom Jones did try to keep this affair concealed because he didn't want to let Linda know that it was back on and embarrass her again. But rumor has it that while Tom was again on tour in the US, Marjorie was at his home and she ended up sunbathing naked all out on his patio or somewhere on his property. And it just so happened paparazzi snapped a picture of Marjorie. The folks say that Tom Jones's team, his managers, were furious. They were wondering just how Marjorie could be so stupid. Why would you do this? You know, you're sunbathing out on his property. Why would you do this? His wife Linda might find out. Well, rumor has it when Marjorie bucked up to them, they got their answer. Because Marjorie said, "What do I care about Linda? I don't care about her. I'm not in love with her. I'm in love with Tom Jones. Her husband is my man." And so some people felt like Marjorie did this sunbathing out there because she wanted Linda to find out. And everybody knows how Tom Jones felt about this. I don't care how much he liked and so-called loved you. If you touched or messed with his wife, you were out of there. And allegedly, he sent Marjorie packing like that day or the day after. Well, Marjorie wasn't like everybody else, child. The folks say that she was so in love with Tom that when he broke it off with her, she went right home and took an overdose of sleeping pills. And a lot of people could see why. She lost Tom, her fiance died, her crown got snatched, everything. But no matter how people felt or what her reasons were, this was a PR disaster for Tom Jones because it looked like just about what it was. You done pushed this girl away and now she's trying to. So Tom and his team are on pins and needles, hoping that Marjorie pulls through, and luckily she does. But even with this, Tom Jones was still not in the clear because remember, when Marjorie went back to her fiance, Peter, he had told his wife, Linda, that he was done with Marjorie. Well, now, not only has this girl's sunbathing pictures been splashed in the media where she was on your property, there's also stories in some media sources saying that this lady is about to end herself over you. This was a lot. Tom knew it was a lot. So this time wasn't no just calling Linda on the phone and telling her, you know, baby, I'm sorry. No, rumor has it that Tom got on a flight and flew over to his wife to try to make things right. Got home, walked into the door and straight into a uppercut to the chin. Tom was once again laid out for the count, but even after this, once again, Linda and Tom worked it out. And by this time, Tom Jones had done so much that his behavior was really noticed by the media. You know, the media really wanted to know, how is this man doing all of this? And his wife, Linda, is staying with him. And so Tom Jones ended up doing several interviews where he answered that question. And he basically told them, you know, that while my wife does not really accept me having affairs, she don't want me having affairs, you know, she's kind of accepted me having affairs. You know, I've kind of told her that I do what I do on the road and my wife loves me enough and I love her enough that we just work through it all the time. In the meantime, Tom continued to do him. He was rumored to have messed around with Scottish singer Lulu. Gossip claims that he slept with Kathy Kirby. As a matter of fact, this rumor of him messing around with Kathy Kirby, some rumors say actually ruined her life because not only did the gossip say that they messed around with each other, allegedly the folks were saying that she got pregnant by Tom and had his baby. Because of the media, Kathy, I think, lost a singing career or a job or lost her husband or something. The funny part about that is that Kathy Kirby suffered so much, but out of all of the rumors, rumor has it, that was the one that was least true. But it was easy to believe it because Tom Jones just had this way about himself. He had so much magnetism that in the late 1960s, early 1970s, feminism started to come out. Well, another song was chosen for Tom Jones, and this song was called She's a Lady. And the lyrics of this song couldn't be further from a feminist message. You know, Tom is saying a woman knows her place. He basically says a woman stays at home and accepts what he does and makes sure that when he gets home, she's ready to please him. But he was so smooth and electric that even most of the feminist women forgot their whole message. Honey, the song come out, they dancing just as hard as anybody else. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a female organization for empowering women or something that had a concert, and Tom Jones headlined this concert and sang this song. I ain't gonna lie though, that song jumping. And it's not the lyrics that I like, but them horns and that bass guitar, oh baby, I love it. And Tom gets to hollering at the end, I'm like, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Go listen listen to it. I'm going to pin it in the top comment. Go listen to that song and listen to Tom acting a fool. To move on, there are several rumors out here involving Tom Jones and Elvis. They were very good friends. Allegedly, there was one night when Tom needed to use Elvis's background's backup singers. So, Elvis had the sweet inspirations for his background singers. Well, along with the sweet inspirations, Elvis had another group of black backup singers in case the sweet inspirations could not make it or something. And Tom Jones needed to use those backup singers. So the folks say that those backup singers and Elvis got on a plane to meet Tom Jones, and Tom ended up not needing to use the singers anymore. But the folks say that Elvis and Tom still used those backup singers later on that night for other things. So yeah, he and Elvis were very close. They did a lot of things together, shared a lot of gifts together. But one story says that Tom and Elvis actually got into it one time and stopped talking for like 6 months. Tom and Elvis were at a party after one of Tom's shows, and it was in a hotel room, and they had all of their entourage around, like 100, 200 people in the room. Everybody's drinking, having a good time, and Elvis keeps on singing a song over and over. It's some type of soul song, but he keeps singing it over and over. So after a while, the people in the party and Tom Jones are like, God, I wish this dude to shut up. Well, Elvis comes back to the piano trying to sing the song for like the 10th time of the night, and so one of Tom's friends thought it would be funny to pull the piano bench away from up under Elvis when he tried to sit down, which is what he did, and Elvis fell down. Well, child, why come Elvis bounced right back up and started doing karate kicks towards that man? Said Elvis was doing all kind of spin kicks and jujitsu and capoeira and everything. Allegedly, he did like 30 kicks in the man's direction and then took off running out of the room and then didn't speak to Tom no more for like 6 months. But back to speaking of backup singers, Tom Jones' backup singers group was called the Blossoms, and allegedly one of the Blossoms was a lady named Darlene Love. And Darlene supposedly got special treatment. While the other Blossoms rode in the tour bus, she rode in the limousine with Tom Jones, and the folks say that Tom Jones would give her foot rubs. He was trying to get next to her, but Darlene would never give in. Well, one night she got drunk and she decided to give in with him. Story says she got in the bed under the covers with him and had everything off except her undies, and so she and Tom fooled around, but when he started to remove the pants, Darlene says never mind, and she gets up and she runs out of the room. Apparently Darlene would tell people later on that she never really wanted to mess around with Tom. She just wanted to see if his member was what people were saying it was. She wanted to see what the hype was about, and she said that Tom Jones may as well have had elephantitis in his member because the boy was hung like hanging up a phone or something. I don't know. I couldn't think of nothing. And Darlene wasn't the only one that was saying this about Tom Jones. Heck, Elvira said that Tom had split her TT weave. Baby said that Elvira lost her virgin to Tom in the year 1972. Said Tom ripped her from the rooter to the tutor, honey. Said that she was in so much pain after that she had to go to the hospital, to have them sew things back together. And everything I've said so far are just some of the stories from the 1960s and the 1970s. But even into the 1980s, Tom Jones was still doing him. In fact, 1987 was the year that things just went absolutely haywire, because 1987 was the year that Tom Jones had a show in New York, and before his show, he went to a bar and he met a lady by the name of Catherine Berkery. Catherine goes back to the hotel room with him that night, and not only does she stay for that night, she stays for the second night, and both nights they let's get it on like Marvin Gaye. Well, Tom does the wham bam, he says thank you ma'am, and then 6 months later, Catherine starts to call Tom's camp all the time, just always calling, saying that she needs to speak to Tom. Tom's camp ignores this lady. Well, Catherine starts calling again, and this time she is very upset, and she says, I need to speak to Tom because I am pregnant. I am carrying his child. Uh-oh. And that uh-oh is for Tom and Catherine, because even though Catherine has said this to Tom's team and Tom knows what she's saying, he still didn't call Catherine back. Like, basically they were trying to see if she would disappear, because the folks say that they had had many of these pregnancy calls before, and the women just quietly disappeared once they figured, Tom ain't gonna have nothing to do with me, and allegedly they got abortees. And word on the streets is that Tom even paid for some of these abortees. So they just kind of thought Catherine would do that. Well, Catherine Berkery did not go away. In fact, she went and got her a lawyer and told her lawyer about it. And her lawyer was like, oh yeah, baby, we finna definitely go after Tom Jones. And he built up his case and he waited for Catherine to have her baby. And when Catherine had her baby, they advised her to go to the media, splash her baby all over the media and say, you know, this is Tom Jones's son. This is his baby. Well, that definitely got Tom Jones's attention. Not only Tom Jones's attention, of course, his wife Linda's attention. But I think by this time, Linda had been through so much that she kind of just made herself delusional on purpose. And I say this because as soon as this lady, Catherine, had this baby and went to the media, news sources tried to go and talk to Linda. So they were kind of outside her and Tom's house just trying to get a statement from her. And Linda just becomes sick of it. And so she opens up the window. First statement that she's made in like 20 years. And she says, my husband told me that he has never met this girl. He doesn't know any Catherine Berkery, and that's certainly not his child, and I believe him. Not even a month later, courts ordered Tom to do a DNA test, and that baby, that son, comes back 99.7% Tom Jones's child. Don't ask me how Linda reacted. I don't know because there's nothing on record, not even any gossip about it, but I can imagine she kind of just threw up her hands. But I can tell you how Tom Jones reacted, and that is by completely denying this child. Baby, Tom Jones did an interview even after the DNA test, saying that he did not believe this child was his. You know, in fact, he knows it wasn't because the DNA test was not 100%. He also says he doesn't feel like the child is his because, you know, this child was not made out of love, you know, so this was not his child. Even if they did have DNA tests and all this kind of stuff, it wasn't his because he didn't love the mother. Linda was the love of his life. And so the only son that he has was the son Mark that he shared with Linda. The courts did not agree. And so Tom ended up having to pay support to that other child by Catherine. But he never met that child. In fact, for the last 30 years, Catherine Berkery and her son that she shares with Tom have done several interviews where, you know, at one point he was begging and asking to meet his father. You know, I think at one point Catherine wanted more money. The most recent interview may have been like at 2017 where the son is now homeless. And he was saying that he needed support and he wanted to meet his father. Tom Jones never even responded. Even after having this out of wedlock baby, allegedly Tom continued to do him. The folks say in the year 2000, he was dating a 20 or a 25-year-old. And she was another, where their affair was splashed all over the news. And I guess by this time, maybe Tom just didn't care anymore. Maybe he just accepted this is what it's going to be. Sorry, Linda. And so allegedly, Linda just became more and more reclusive. You know, she had gained weight. She had aged a lot. It was just a lot of embarrassment throughout the years. And Tom Jones just could not see this. I mean, the man even had nerve to do an interview in 2015 telling the world that his wife Linda had lost her spark. He said that she's done too much smoking, too much drinking. You know, she's not trying to keep her looks up anymore. You know, she's just down and out. And throughout saying all of this, Tom is talking with a tone of he doesn't know why. He doesn't know why Linda is like this. And so this interview caused an uproar in the comments. In another interview at another point in time, Tom Jones talked a little bit about the affairs he had had over the years. When the interviewer asked Tom directly, do you feel like your affairs have done anything to your wife? Do you think that contributed to it? Tom told them absolutely not. And then the interviewer went on and pressed further and asked Tom, okay, well, do you regret any of those affairs? Absolutely not. You know, I was just living. You know, I'm a man. It's what was done. And I will most likely do it again. Just kind of trifling with it. And it's not so much of his behavior of being an unfaithful man. Heck, celebrity men and men with a lot of money, a lot of times they are unfaithful. Shoot, men with no money, they sitting up there unfaithful too. So it wasn't that. But it was things like this, things like Tom saying, you know, no, that's not affecting her, you know, or I would do it all over again. You know, it's my life. I had these affairs. That's very yikes. And I'll show you kind of how his mind worked, because Tom was asked, okay, so you're out having all of these affairs doing what you want to do. So what do you think about your wife? Do you think she's had affairs on you since she's been at home by herself most of the time? No, I don't believe that at all. I feel like I'm the only one. And so the interviewer is like, really? You really feel like you're the only one? Well, yes, because my wife loves me, and also why would she need to cheat? It was something else. You know what I'm saying? It was something else. It really was a scandalous thing, child. Because Linda had become so reclusive, Linda didn't even show up to watch her husband receive the knighthood. So there was definitely a sense of sadness when it came to Linda, but all I can say is that she loved her husband. You know what I'm saying? She made her choice. She stayed. Maybe all of these gossip stories are lies. Maybe Linda never cried. Maybe she never fought. Maybe she did accept her husband cheating with open arms and loved him. I don't know. But I know the woman stayed. The very next year after the 2015 interview, in the year 2016, Linda ended up passing away. She had lung cancer and she was 75 years old, and she and her husband Tom had been together for 53 years. It certainly seems to everyone that Tom Jones took his wife's death very hard. You know, he did interviews after that. He couldn't stop himself from crying. In fact, I don't think he even worked again until the year 2017 when he became a judge on The Voice. But I think times had changed too much for this very traditional manly man. You know, he said some offensive comments about one of the contestants, saying that he felt like she didn't do so well after the show because she had picked up weight. You know, he kind of said that the girl had got a boyfriend and got comfortable, and that's probably why her career didn't do much. And so people started to say that he was fat shaming her. And then in 2022, he ended up being fired from The Voice because per Tom Jones, the directors and producers were disrespectful, you know. So again, I think his older mentality probably kind of bumped heads with somebody. As we come to the end of this video, I know that some people had questions about Tom Jones and plastic surgery, and the answer is yes. Yes, child. Tom himself has admitted that he's had a lot of surgery. I think he's had surgery on his nose at least 3 times because he hated his nose when he was younger. He's also had a facelift, I think. And also he's even had parts of his scalp cut off, like the bald spots that showed up. Tom will go get those cut out and removed and sew his scalp back together, which is one of the reasons that he's never really lost that full head of hair that a lot of people felt like made him a man with some black DNA mixed in there somewhere. But as far as I know, Tom Jones is 100% a Welsh man. Welsh people, go ahead and throw up your flags. Put them all in the comments, because baby, y'all do not play. Child, them Welsh folks will get you told sitting up there trying to take their favorite son from them. That is their man, honey. Their very own musical Prince of Wales. Anyway, Tom Jones today is 83 years old, and as far as I know, he is still going strong. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. It took a lot of work once again to put this one together, simply because Tom had a lot of stuff going on. So please go ahead and give me a like on the video. Also, if you are new here, please go ahead and subscribe. Like I always say, if you've been sitting here watching, please go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the whole 9. And I love you guys so much. I will be putting out another video soon. Bye.